So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another album review of The Shield on a Couch. So, this Friday, we're gonna talk about the band Greta Van Fleet or Greta Van Fleet. And they're a band that started a few years ago, and their sound is very classic 70s rock sound. And let's get it off the way, the elephant in the room, yes, they still sound very similar to a band like Led Zeppelin. But you know what? If you think this is gonna be an album review where I'm going to shit on the band, no, it's not. I listened to the album like 3 or 4 times, and I had listened to the singles prior to doing this review. And I'm not a huge fan of the band, but I also do not hate them. And I think that this album, on their second album, they did sound, they mixed it up a little bit. The second album had more prog rock to them, and it sounded like a combination of Led Zeppelin meets Rush, especially with Josh Kishka's vocals. Sometimes he does sound like Robert Plant, but his voice is so high pitched that it has that Geddy Lee from Rush to him. So this album, yeah, they're keeping that sound. I think their first album was the one that really sounded like copy-paste Led Zeppelin, but they've infused some progressive elements to their music to make it sound different. And I can say, they're very talented musicians. To me, the highlight of this album is Jake Kishka, the brother, and the guitar playing on this album. There's great solos on many of the tracks on this album, and you can tell that he's being influenced by classic rock guitar players, like obviously Jimmy Page, but Eric Clapton and other guitar players. And it's done pretty good. So I cannot just like shit on a band because they sound so similar to a band that everyone loves. Do I like them more than Led Zeppelin? No. But still, I got to give credit to the band for, being talented musicians. So the album is 10 tracks and it's 42 minutes in length, so it goes back fairly quickly. And so this album has it's more mid-pace tempo type of songs, and there's a few songs that are more faster. And then they have those type of songs that are more acoustic, like you feel like you are sitting next to a campfire and just eating some s'mores and listening to some classic acoustic rock from the 70s and just like chilling. So the album to me has a few highlights, and I gotta say that the flow of the album is pretty good. The opening track, Fate of the Faithful, starts the album very solid. It has some like classic rock 70s guitar to it, and it's got like a hypnotic feel to it. I think the vocals, the vocalist really channels a lot of like his influences, and it's pretty soulful at times. There's a lot of blues also to their music. And then they have a song like Waited All Your Life, which is the second track, and that one is more stripped down acoustic, like let's just chill. So it's a beautiful track. But to me, the best tracks are the singles. The Falling Sky, that's a great track. It's more faster paced and great soloing on it. Then you have a song like Frozen Light, and that one also has a solo in the middle that is very like epic and soulful. But also the song goes through like being softer to being faster, and again, the vocals are pretty good. You have your more rocking tracks like The Archer, which that's a good one. And then you have a song in the middle of the album called Runaway Blues, which is like a 1:20 song. But that one is just straight up rock and roll, and that song in the middle really gives a boost to the album because sometimes it gets too mellow. So that track in the middle is a great segue to like wake you up and prepare you for the second half of the album. So I really thought that it was good, and it was a little bit different. The guitars from it reminded me more of like 80s bands or like Bad Companies and stuff like that, especially the guitar, like a Bob Seger, if you will. Tracks that I didn't love so much, but weren't bad. I think the Sacred, the Fret, it had a guitar lick on it that it was so copy paste Led Zeppelin that it put me off a little bit. But the song is not bad. But besides that, it's a pretty solid album. I think the album closer, Farewell for Now, was a little bit boring for my taste, and I think I would have ended the album with Meeting the Master, which I think is one of the best tracks on the album. It's very ethereal. It's like a song that you can like listen to and get lost in a trance. The guitars, how they're played on it, there's like an effect that is very like Indian music a little bit, with some new age but also classic 70s rock. And I think Josh vocals on this one are one of the best on the album. So I really thought it was a standout track, and I can see why they used it as a single. So the only negatives that I would say about this album is that sometimes it can be a little bit slow at times, and I would like a little bit more fast pace. And yes, they do have a similar sound to Led Zeppelin. So it would be cool to see like where they go with this, and if they venture and do like different things on future releases. But again, Starcatcher is not a bad album, and I can see why the band Greta Van Fleet has people that like them. But obviously, like the comments that people say, like no, they don't sound like Led Zeppelin at all. Like, come on, people, you need your hearing checked. They do sound like them, but that's not a bad thing. So, what are your favorite tracks from Starcatcher? Do you think they sound like Led Zeppelin, or do you hear other influences in their music? And if you like the videos that I'm putting out, do not forget to give me a like, and do not forget to subscribe. I have more content on the way. That helps me when you do that, reach more people with the YouTube algorithm, and reach more people like yourself. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you, and good night.